Once upon a time in midwinter, when the snowflakes were falling like feathers from heaven, a queen was sitting by a window sewing her embroidery, and the frame of the window was made of black ebony. And as she was sewing, she looked up at the snow, and she pricked her finger with the needle. 3 drops of blood fell onto the snow on the windowsill. And because the red looked so beautiful on the white snow, she thought to herself, "Would that I had a child, as white as snow, as red as blood, and as black as the wood of the window frame." Soon after that, she had a little daughter who was as white as snow and as red as blood, and her hair was as black as ebony. But when the child was born, the queen died. After a year had passed, the king took to himself another wife. She was a beautiful woman, but proud and haughty. She possessed a wonderful mirror, and when she stepped before it and looked at herself in it, she said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of us all?" But Snow White was growing up, and when she was 7 years old, she was as fair as the day and more beautiful than the queen herself. Then the mirror let it be known, "Queen, you are beautiful, it is true, but Snow White is 1,000 times fairer than you." Then the queen was shocked and turned yellow and green with envy. From that hour, whenever she looked at Snow White, her heart heaved in her breast. She hated the girl so much. The queen called a huntsman and said, "Take the child away into the forest. I will no longer have her in my sight. Kill her and bring me back her lung and liver as a token." The huntsman obeyed and took the child away into the forest. And when they had reached the deep woods, he drew his hunting knife and was about to pierce Snow White's innocent heart. Then she began to weep and said, "Oh, dear huntsman, spare my life. I will run away into the wild forest and never come home again." The huntsman had pity on her and said, "Run away then, you poor child." He thought the wild beasts would soon devour her, but it was as if a stone had fallen from his heart. Now the poor child was all alone in the great forest, and so terrified. She began to run and ran over sharp stones and through thorns, and she ran as long as her feet would go. It was just getting dark when she saw a little house and went inside to rest. Everything in the cottage was small, but neater and cleaner than can be told. There was a table set with a white cloth and 7 little plates. Against the wall stood 7 little beds, side by side, and covered with snow-white sheets. When it was quite dark, the owners of the cottage came back. They were 7 dwarfs who dug and delved in the mountains for ore. They lit their 7 candles, and as the house became light, they saw that someone had been there. The first said, "Who has been sitting on my chair?" The second, "Who has been eating off my plate?" The third, "Who has been taking some of my bread?" They saw that everything had been touched. Then the 7th dwarf looked at his bed and saw Snow White, who was lying there asleep. He called the others, who came running up. They cried out, "Good heavens, what a lovely child this is!" And they were so happy that they did not wake her up, but let her sleep on in the bed. The 7th dwarf slept with his companions, 1 hour with each, and so passed the night. When it was morning, the girl awoke, and seeing the 7 dwarfs, she was frightened. But they were very friendly and asked her what her name was. She answered, "My name is Snow White." She told them how her stepmother had tried to kill her. The dwarfs felt pity and said, "If you will look after our house and keep everything neat and clean, you may stay with us." "Yes," said Snow White, "with all my heart." The dwarves went to work in the mountains every morning to dig for gold. Before they left, they warned her, saying, "Beware of your stepmother. She will soon know you are here. Don't let anyone in." The wicked stepmother thought Snow White was dead. She stood before her mirror and asked who was the fairest. The mirror answered, "You, my queen, are fair here, but Snow White over the 7 mountains with the 7 dwarfs is 1,000 times fairer than you." The queen trembled with rage. "Now," she cried, "I will think of something that shall put an end to her." She went into a secret, lonely room where no one ever came, and there she concocted a poisonous apple. Outwardly, it was beautiful, white with red cheeks, so that everyone who saw it longed for it. But whoever ate a piece of it must surely die. With the final touch complete, only a strange old peasant woman remained in the mirror. The queen gazed at the wrinkled face with satisfaction. A perfect disguise. No one would recognize her now. "Here, child, this apple is too big for one. Let us share it." The old woman warmly offered the bright red half, her eyes full of sincere kindness, making it impossible to refuse. The old woman took one last deep look and vanished into the forest. Farewell, Snow White, sweet dreams. Back at the castle, she shed her disguise, reclaiming her proud, cold beauty. facing the mirror, she whispered the spell, and this time the mirror finally answered. "My queen, the fairest of all, is you." As the sun set, the dwarfs returned home from their work. But today, instead of the aroma of dinner, they were greeted by a heart-stopping silence. Pushing open the door, silence greeted them. Snow White lay quietly on the floor, pale yet still beautiful. She looked as if she had simply fallen asleep from exhaustion, but tragically she was no longer breathing. They could not bear to hide her in the dark earth, so they fashioned a coffin of clear crystal and gold. Seasons passed, yet she remained as fresh and fair as a blooming flower, as if she were simply dreaming a dream that would never end. Until one day, a prince journeyed through the forest. Gazing at her peaceful face, he felt a stirring he had never known. In the presence of such eternal beauty, he could not help but lean down and offer a kiss of true love. As if waking from a long, long dream, Snow White slowly opened her eyes. The spell of the poison apple vanished before true love. She watched the worried faces before her turn to joy as the blush of life returned to her cheeks once again. With the warm blessings of the dwarfs, the prince took Snow White's hand and bid farewell to the forest. Sunlight bathed the road ahead, promising a happily ever after.